We are live, Sam.
Welcome to Out of the Parks with John Marks. I'm your co-host, Sam Stafford, alongside, of course, John Marks. And we are without Maniac Malloy today. He's a little under the weather, so it's just the two of us. And I'm going to be honest, I'm a little envious of Maniac not having to talk about this team, John. This is so frustrating right now. So they lose their fifth straight series, and this is their first home series sweep since July of
A year
2022.
or 2 years. Oh,
Yeah.
I saw the stat and I thought it was 2023. You're right. It is frustrating. And before we came on, I was watching a little bit of post game and hearing what Rob Thompson had to say and hearing Ricky Bowe and Michael Barkan and John Kruk. And like this is a Bryce Harper story right now for the Phillies. Bryce Harper is the Phillies. He is when the Phillies are playing great, Bryce Harper is usually right there front and center. When they're struggling like they're struggling right now, it's Bryce Harper. I don't know if anybody else picked up on it, and I saw this last night. He just had this look in his face after one of the times he got out last night where he kind of looks spooked, which isn't the Bryce Harper, Sam, that we're used to. And he comes up with the game on the line with a chance to win the game, and he grounds into a double play. He's pulling everything. He's really pressing at the plate. And he just, as we know, as you know, Sam, you know baseball, it's such a mental game. And right now, Bryce Harper is swimming in his own head. And guess what? The rest of the team's kind of playing like Bryce Harper is right now. It's like they're taking their cue from their MVP. And it's a struggle right now. They just got swept by the Yankees at Citizens Bank Park. It sounded like the Bronx in some of these games. Last night, it's driving me nuts. It sucks. It sucks as a Phillies fan. So we have to take this. We have to internalize it. We have the day off tomorrow, and then we got to get back on the saddle for Friday because they got 10 games on the road, Sam, and it's not going to be easy. Put on your seatbelt.
Well, to your point about Bryce Harper, 100%, I think it was maybe Monday night I was watching, and I saw that vibe and that energy from Bryce, and it's just so not him because, like you said, he is this team, the heart and soul, and he 100% is what sets the tone. And if he's excited, everybody's going to be excited. And he's just such a leader. And it is kind of sucking the life out of everybody. And when we were waiting for this to come up and we were setting everything for the show, we also tuned into a little bit of the post game. And it was interesting because Ricky Bowe hit it right on the head. And I didn't even think about it. So Bryce is in a bit of a slump right now, 1 for 30. In his last, obviously, 31 at-bats with 1 home run, 2 walks, 11 strikeouts. And the weirdest thing about it is, this is what Ricky Bowe mentioned, was the fact that if he normally was 1 for 12 and he was obviously in a slump at that point, he would just slap the ball. Just get it in a hole, and it's just makes it look so easy. Just make some kind of contact just so that the numbers are there, and that takes away from the mental aspect of it, and you just calm down a little bit. But he can't even do that. It's almost like he's in some kind of mindset where he thinks he's going to like strong arm this. Yep. Like he's still swinging hard, but he's not making the contact. You saw that especially on that double play to end the game today. And it's just one of those things that I don't think we've ever seen this from Bryce, not even with the Phillies, but like just his whole career. It's weird.
I've never seen him play like this. I haven't.
No.
And we're obviously we're such creatures of what's happened in the last couple of weeks. Sometimes you forget, like, oh, well, remember that stretch that he had a couple of years ago. I don't remember a stretch like this. Just to where you're going to go through stretches where you're not hitting the ball well. I remember a period of time where he had problems catching up to a fastball, which was a real problem. It's like, all right, well, if he can't catch up to a fastball, he's in trouble. Probably was a little bit banged up. To me, this doesn't look physical. To me, this all looks mental. You had mentioned a couple of stats. 0 for 14 in the series, Bryce Harper against the Yankees with 5 strikeouts. Last 7 games, he's batting .033. Since the All-Star break, Sam, do you remember us talking about, well, we hope they're not sluggish coming out of the All-Star break? He's batting .115. That's 12 games since the All-Star break. Phillies 1-5 on the homestand. They've played so well at home over the last few years. And the Yankees fans sounded like it's Yankee Stadium South. This is a tough one. It's not just about Bryce Harper. Matt Strahm, who's been so good, he gave it up last night when Nola pitched relatively well. There was a grand slam by DJ LeMahieu today that, like was a Citizens Bank Park home run. It was very close. So it's like they just can't seem to do anything right. The bullpen screws up when they need the bullpen to actually pitch, while the starting pitching gives up and then the offense is showing up in the wrong games. It's a tough stretch. And this is why baseball, 162 games of baseball, it's so hard to watch it because you're going to have these stretches. You hope they're going to be able to get out of it here coming up.
Well, and that is the thing. It might feel like right now that the sky is falling and that everything's wrong, but this is July, almost August. Yeah, because July 31st, I had to remind myself because it's flying by. So almost August. But if this was going to happen, which we knew it was going to happen, this is the time that you want it to happen. You want everybody goes through a slump. I guess not good, but good that they're all going through it at the same time.
Right.
So hopefully they come back and they just light things on fire. But it is interesting in that it seems to all follow from Bryce Harper. And there's no doubt if that is what the trend setting is that he's going to bounce back eventually. So hopefully we see that. But you did mention that they're going on the road for 10 games. It's almost, I think it's like 13 days with off days in there. And 11 days. That's Mark Feldman over there. He knows everything. But you did mention that they're going on the road. And I think, if anything, normally we like to see them at home, but this is going to help them. They need tomorrow's off day. They need to go get away from Citizens Bank Park and hopefully find themselves.
Yeah, agreed. And sometimes when you go on the road, it's like you were just having on such a hot streak at home, and then you go to the West Coast, and it kind of screws with your mentality. Totally agree. This is the perfect time. So you start in Seattle, you go to Los Angeles against the Dodgers. But didn't they sweep the Dodgers at Citizens Bank
They
Park?
did. And so
right
that series kind of makes me nervous just
too.
because the Dodgers are coming out with revenge. We'll talk about the trade deadline coming up shortly, but they made improvements.
So normally, and I agree with you. I think especially for Bryce, getting out of town, feeling the pressure. And like, Bryce is a baseball historian, right? Like, he's Mr. Baseball. I believe he was a Yankee fan growing up, right? So now they're at Citizens Bank Park and they're at home, nationally televised games, and Bryce is not playing like the Bryce Harper we know. So again, the mentality, the mental aspect of it. But the trip out west, Seattle's a very good team. That Dodgers series sets up for some revenge, being that the Phillies swept them, to what you were saying before, Sam. And Arizona's playing pretty well right now. And I believe that, did the Phillies sweep Arizona, or did they certainly won that series when they came into Citizens Bank Park. They didn't sweep them because that was at a game they lost. But my record's terrible. But normally you like to see the road trip. But when you dig inside the details of the road trip, I don't feel as good, right? Like, it's almost that if they come back 5-5 and not lose any ground, like the Braves are seven games back. The freaking Mets are 7.5 games back. So there's your hot team in the NL East right now. So like I was on TV Sunday night, CBS 3, and they asked me about at least asked me about the road trip and what I thought starting with the Yankee series, and I said, put your seatbelt on. Might get a little bumpy. I didn't expect them to get swept by the Yankees to start the stretch off, Sam, but it's been a little bit bumpy so far. So put your seatbelt on. Might be a bumpy ride out west.
Well, and to everybody, Yankees fans wise, that wants to come at us, before the All-Star break, they went through an extreme slump where they were like lost 14 out of 17, I think. So to everybody's point, it's going to happen. Hopefully they get out of it.
The Mets just swept them last weekend. I mean, the Mets just swept them maybe a little bit over a week ago. So it's not like that Yankees are a good team. If there's one takeaway from this series, or if there's two takeaways from this series, it's Bryce Harper is really struggling right now. And the Yankees have monsters in their lineup. Aaron Judge is an absolute monster. Juan Soto's having an MVP type season if Judge wasn't having a historic season. DJ LeMahieu's washed, but somehow he showed up for the game today. So they do have a potent lineup. They're a good team. There's a reason why they've won 65 games now. So you see this. It's the ebbs and flows of the season. It's the ups and downs of the season. And today's not necessarily the day to preach that as a Philly fan and two Phillies fans. But, like, this series is only 3 losses, right? They're going to have to move on from this series. If they come back from the road trip, if they go 3-7 in their next 10 games, I think that you should be alarmed. And then you're saying, like, all right, like, the Mets are only a couple games behind us now. So it sucks. This sucks. It sucks to lose to the Yankees. It sucks to get swept at home. So I'm just man. Again, I'm putting my seatbelt on because this road trip's going to be tough. It's going to be.
You
tough.
even just mentioning them possibly going 3-7 on the road made me go a little panic. That would absolutely be terrible, and I hope that doesn't happen. But I do want to give a little bright side because I do have a point to make that off of your point. But I want to give a bright side first. So the 1980 team, I believe Fritz said this on WIP. The 1980 team also had that iconic start, set records, blah blah blah. Then they went 14-14 in the month of July, so definitely went downhill compared to what they were, just like us, and was under 500 even in the month of September that year. We know what happened then. And it just goes to show this is baseball.
Yeah.
No team is going to be perfect throughout the whole time unless you're what was it, the Braves? I don't know what year. I was going to say 2021 when they were fantastic, but then they lost. So
right.
you just got to go and take it as it goes.
We've seen this team not play great baseball during the regular season, but they got hot at the right time. Look at 2 years ago. The Phillies got hot at the right time. The Diamondbacks got hot at the right time last year, made it all the way to the World Series. So this is, we're now in the August. So by the middle of this month, you want your team starting to hit their stride again. We had to know a stretch like this was coming. They had played so well the entire year. They're still up 7 games. Sam, we can't say they have the best record in baseball because they don't have the best record in baseball anymore. But they're still a good team, and if we believe in this team, and I believe in this team, I believe in Bryce Harper, they're going to turn it around.
I do want to note, Maniac is in the chat to answer questions and chime in here. I mentioned this to Mark earlier, too, to take accountability because they stole that sweep trend or something when they had this sweep against, who was it that was in town then? Well, the Rangers. So when they swept the Rangers and put out that yeah, and then they swept the Dodgers and did it again. But they stole that trend from Yankees fans, supposedly. So now the Yankees came in here and swept us. Maybe it was after a little revenge there. So do we make it a revenge on Maniac and Mark thing?
Well, that's what I'm saying is that because Maniac, Malloy, and Mark Feldman were down and they were videoing them with the sweeping and having other people with the broom and sweeping into the dustpan. Are they down? Is that where Maniac Malloy is today? Is he down at the ballpark doing the sweep? I was thinking about it earlier, Sam.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. He was so embarrassed he actually couldn't show his face today. So he had to take a sick day. But you did mention, so these Yankees, we've seen them go through a slump. They even just got swept by the Mets a week ago or last weekend. So we saw them kind of come alive once Jazz Chisholm came, and it seems like he played his heart out too. He's been playing really well with them since he got there, but it seems like it made all those superstars that you mentioned kind of come alive too. And sometimes you can see that you just need one piece that makes everybody re-energize, especially in July. The Phillies, they didn't really get what we hoped that they would get for the trade deadline. That was that big name. We kind of mentioned that's not a Dave Dombrowski thing, really. He makes the moves that are necessary and will help the team where it needs to be helped. But what do you think about that? The trade deadline, the Phillies, they did get Austin Hayes, which I like that move. We saw him today hit 2 to the wall in big situations. He hit a home run last night, had a couple RBIs last night. So he is an improvement, but do you think they should have done more?
No, I don't. And I don't think that there was moves to be made out there. It was a seller's market and the prices were exorbitant. And I think the big players that didn't get traded, their GMs looked at it and said, we can wait till after the season. We can still make trades after that. So the reality is that this team has one of the highest payrolls in baseball. They're a team full of superstars. They just acquired one of the better closers in the game. They have 2 all-stars on their staff. They're their bullpen staff. They have all-star starters. They have all-star starting players in their lineup. Like, this is the team. So there wasn't a big trade that I think you could have made that was out there that was going to kind of re-energize this team. Because I agree with you, Sam. The Yankees played with great energy, and Chisholm has brought a lot of that. But when things are going bad, I think he gives you kind of that negative energy. But he's an upgrade. He's a huge upgrade to that team. And right now, you're right. This team needs a little dose of energy. And I'll put it back to Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper's kind of playing in a malaise right now. You're not seeing the hustle. You're not seeing the Bryce Harper that's playing with his hair on fire. And people aren't stepping up. You have Kyle Schwarber on this team for a couple of reasons. One is that he smashes a lot of home runs, but two is he's supposed to be one of the better leaders in baseball. And this is when you need your guys like a Kyle Schwarber and like Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper isn't a vocal leader. He leads by example, right? Like, so you need to see that play on the field, and then Schwarber needs to bring it all together in the clubhouse and on the field as well. Like, they got to play better. It's just flat out. They have to play better. Bryce Harper has to play better. Trey Turner has to play better. These guys have to play better, and they can't just win when they hit home runs. And that's what.
Yeah, Bryce is obviously the noticeable one right now because of how big his slump is and how big his usual impact is. But that's what we've said before, is one of the things about this lineup and how many stars they had. It was so nice because anybody was coming up on any day. You had Alec Boehm coming up big. You had Bryson Stott. You had Brandon Marsh. Anybody, it didn't even have to be the stars. They were just all feeding into it, and anybody could go off any night. And we're just seeing everybody flat. It's kind of like what we saw in the NLCS last year. Everybody just fell flat, and it was weird, and nobody knew the source of it, and they didn't have that vibe. And it sucks that Maniac's not here because he's such a Garrett Stubbs chief vibes officer, but it seems like he's not doing his job either in the clubhouse. So we need something to electrocute these guys. I do want to know, I said last week with the trade deadline that Carlos Estevez was my choice. I thought he was the best option that was getting thrown around for the Phillies, and that's who we got. So
hat tip to Sam Stafford, because she called that for sure, and they got him. So if I'm being objective here, and I'm trying to take some of the emotion out, last night's game should have been a Phillies win. They're at home. 100%. They had a number of chances to win. Today there was almost a home run. Hayes last night, Hayes today. Just if it's another 5 feet, it's a home run. But that's a game last night that you have to win, and they didn't. So I was like, wow, like you got to win that game. And then today you fall behind 4-0, and they actually battled back. So it's not like this team is coming out and they're being like, they don't look like the Eagles the last couple of weeks of the season where
game one, wow. They might have.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. they fought. They had to have won. They had to win last night. Cole gets scratched shortly before his start. You got a AAA pitcher, more or less, that's making the start. You get on him early, but then you can't do anything after that, and you can't really put the game away. And you had to win that game last night. Today, close game or whatever, but the sweep, even if it's just mental, the fact that you got swept at home and it sounded like it sounded the last couple days at Citizens Bank Park, it's demoralizing as fans, and it obviously zapped confidence out of that team. It zapped confidence out of Bryce Harper. I don't know if I've seen him like this before, where he looks like he's searching and his mind is kind of like spinning while he's on the baseball field. And normally with Bryce, when you have the big moments, that's where he comes up the biggest. He has not done that recently.
Yeah, it is very strange. And I hate to speculate and whatever, but just being a new parent myself, he has 3 kids now, and one is probably like 2 or 3 months. So you have to wonder, with them being home and all that, they did the All-Star break with the kids with them. You got to wonder if he's just trying to be a dad and just going through that newborn stage, and maybe that's coming over into the play. You never know. But
it certainly doesn't help. It certainly doesn't help if he's a 2-month-old. At home, even if they have help to do whatever else. It's like Bryce Harper's human at the end of the day. We know he's superhuman most of the time, but he's human. So maybe there are some factors outside of baseball that just have him mentally tired. And maybe there is some type of an injury thing that we don't know that's going on too. That's something that I haven't seen that, but maybe there is something going on physically.
I mean, that's true too. I mean, we probably all had this thought that he came back early from that hamstring to play in the All-Star game. So it doesn't look like he's like favoring it at all, to your point, but you never know if it's mentally doing something. I do want to say, because we're getting a couple of these,
Yeah.
this team will never win anything under a manager this incompetent. Rob Thompson has gotten a lot of backlash this series. What do you think about that?
It seems like when the team struggles, he has been, at least the last couple times, and I'm going to point to last year in the playoffs, that he isn't pushing buttons to get guys going. And that's really when you look at a manager's job in Major League Baseball in 2024, there's a lot of decisions that are being made as far as the lineup and things like that above his head, right? Analytics is a big part of baseball. So I'm not telling you he's not doing anything, but like the general managers like being in charge of a lot of this stuff. And analytics, the Phillies certainly have a ton of full-time analytics people, and they're not using that for for bleeps and giggles. They're using it because they're deploying that in their strategy and their game plan. But when you're a manager, really, like, you got to keep the clubhouse. You got to have guys feeling good, enjoying coming out to work, happy. But when stuff's going on and guys get cold, that's where you need to move the lineup around and you need to push some buttons to get guys going. And yeah, like when you can put it in autopilot and everybody's hitting home runs, yeah, Rob Thompson's great.
Nice.
But when he's got to make moves, I'm a little bit underwhelmed when he's got to make in-game moves, or he, like, Stubbs batted today, and I don't know why you keep him in there. Schwarber ran in the ninth inning. I was a little bit puzzled, but
well, to your point, even that is kind of one of the backlashes against coaches or managers like Rob Thompson. That's such a player's coach, because sometimes it is hard for them to come against these guys. And one thing that you have to think about is this is a team of superstars, so you kind of have to balance that being a manager, obviously. So that might be something he's struggling with. But I will say he's compared to Charlie Manuel a lot because they were both such players, managers, and like player focused. But the difference that we've seen is Charlie could chew you out. And the '08 team and all those guys, they'll tell you that if Charlie wasn't happy with you, he would chew you out. I've never heard that about Rob Thompson. And even in these post-game press conferences these last couple of days that we're seeing, he's just so mild-mannered. And it's a little frustrating just for the fact that, like, we're being so passionate and so angry with this, but you're seeing Rob just come out and be like, yeah, they got to get going. And it's like, well, no crap, Rob. So I do understand some frustration there, but I'm hoping that there's something behind the doors that, like, he's getting a little Charlie on him, you know?
Yeah, I mean, Rob Thompson's not going to be Larry Boa and flip a table in
Larry
the
might be a little
clubhouse.
too scary.
but Larry, like, you need balance on a coaching staff, right? So if Rob Thompson's not naturally the guy that is fiery, you need one of your coaches that doesn't mind chewing a guy out like that. Now, I don't know if Rob Thompson gets after the guys or whatever, but I heard the they won or they lost, and that's on most nights. He's almost like smiling even after his game. He said, I think we're playing enough, and we just had opportunities that we didn't cash in on. It's when you have an even kill manager, because this is a long season, has his players back. And I think, but again, sometimes you need that. You chew guys out, but it's just like, hey, let's go. Make some switches in the lineup. Move some guys around. I don't know, but myself out of it. Sometimes you gotta expedite that process a little bit quicker. So I
agree with you.
Valid
I love
criticism.
Hopper, and this is not by any means saying that he's not a good manager or anything, but maybe it is time that even speaker coming in a plug or clubhouse to talk to these guys, rile them up a little bit, like something different, because it is the beginning of August we're going into. So it is still that, like, the season's dragging before it gets exciting again, for the players aspect. So it would help. Maybe we'll get they're going to or something, J roll and just fire these guys up. That's what they look like they need. Get them out of their own heads, man.
Well, I mean, cannabis is legal pretty much everywhere except Pennsylvania these days. So like, go get it's probably gonna just you have the day off, go have some coffee and have some hash or something.
Yeah, chill yourselves out
mentally. Yeah, go chill out, get yourselves mentally in the right spot. I mean, I would have to believe that even if they go out west and they come back, like I'd thrown out an arbitrary number before 3-7. That means they win one game from each series and they lose each series. Is that really that much of a stretch to think they could lose each of the next 3 series? The Dodgers are the Dodgers.
So it's Seattle Dodgers and who else? Is it the Angels or the Giants? Okay, I was wrong on both of them. Arizona.
It's the Diamondbacks who have been playing well.
Yeah.
Recently. We know how they played out there last year. So this is not sometimes you get these road trips and you worry just about the travel going from east to west because even if they're inferior teams and you're playing well, you can still easily lose that. They're going out there and they're playing good teams. So it's not, and this is, Sam, this is probably exactly what this team needs, to play good teams on the West Coast, to wake them up, low pressure because they're not in Philadelphia, so they're not hearing all the noise. We know that Bryce Harper listens to WIP when he drives into the ballpark, so he hears it. So I think it'll do this team good to get the hell out of town and get out to the West Coast.
I agree with you, and I do want to note that one of the games with Arizona I do remember hearing is when they're doing their like fake rings NLCS ring ceremony. That's because it had to be against the Phillies, of course. Right. So I think that'll be a win for the Phillies, or at least the Phillies that we know, where it's going to fire you up and be like, you mother effers, because the audacity to do it with Phillies in town is just something else. But I do want to say, so we mentioned Estevez, they got at the trade deadline, and just to wrap this up, we also got Tanner Banks, who we saw today make his debut. Estevez, both outings yesterday and today, has done great. Banks did great today, so that's very positive to see. And then obviously Austin Hayes, we said we both liked. I do want to bring this up. So another WIP guy, John Johnson, put out a poll yesterday asking once the trade deadline was over, the World Series window is. And he had right now 2 seasons, 3 seasons, 4+ seasons. And shocker, most people said 2 seasons at 39%. And then it was kind of split it right now in 3 seasons. I voted 4+ seasons. But that only got 8% of the votes. And it kind of shocks me just because after you see they refuse to trade any of these big prospects that are so big and supposed to make such an impact. So to me, seeing these core, you have Trey Turner, you have Bryce Harper, you still have Schwarber and Castellanos for another year or 2. You have some other guys that are young and going to get new contracts. So to me, it's just like, I want to know your thoughts on it.
It's hard to look ahead to 4 years and know.
Fair.
Will Dave Dombrowski be here in 4 years? Probably not. Maybe. Probably not. When you look at the roster right now of who will be here, Bryce Harper will be here. I think Bohm gets a new contract, so he'll be here. I don't think Schwarber's here in 4 years. Is JT here in 4 years? Maybe, but then he's 35 or something like that. Yeah, so like with the team that we saw, the Ryan Howard, Jimmy Rollins, Chase Utley team, like they're able to come up and they need to recycle and turn the roster around. It's difficult to do. Certainly, their starting pitching signed going forward because they pretty much signed all of them. We'll see what happens with Ranger, but I'll tell you this, that the Phillies, because they're very well run, their ownership group is more than willing to spend. They're very competitive. Then you have a chance, and I wish they had a hotter hitting prospect that was coming up than they have. It would make me at least feel a little bit better that
isn't that Aiden Miller? Isn't he
I
supposed
mean,
to be?
are you talking about maybe an above average type player? I mean, I would say Aiden Miller is more likely Bryson Stott than a perennial All Star. In fact, I would bet on that. Miller has good tools. I don't think he's a 40 home run guy. He's a 300 hitter maybe, but yeah, he's batting. He got moved up to high A, and he really hasn't played well in his first.
I mean, I'm right there. You trade him, but just with how high the Phillies are on him and Crawford, and with Dave Dombrowski now coming out saying they knew that those guys were off the table, which probably also
Right.
meant that a lot of these big names they were tied to were off the table just because obviously they're going to demand one of those top prospects. But with how big they are on him, that would make me upset if he comes up and he's just Bryson Stott. And I love Stott, but with how big they are, we'll see. But so realistically, what would you say is the Phillies World Series window?
It's obviously
this year,
it's
2 years, 3 years, 4+.
This year is an obvious all-in situation, and then next year again, the team is going to operate that this is an all-in situation. Now, next year, if the team is still a playoff team and still is very much a World Series contender, then that means the following year the same thing's going to happen because they're pot committed. They already have the payroll. They already have the guys signed.
Mm-hmm.
It's not until they fall apart that players will starting to get traded and not re-signed, right? So it's easily for the next 2 years, probably the next 3 years. So I'd say this year and then 2 additional years past this. And then who knows where these players are going to be. Schwarber, who has been such a big part of the success of this latest run by the Phillies, I don't know how much longer you can count on him. Like 4 years from now, Kyle Schwarber will be 35 years old, and he's still probably going to be a productive player. But how productive is he? We don't know.
True that. So you're not that far off, though. I'm just more optimistic because I value what they're saying from the prospects, I guess, a little too high. But anything's possible. Now, looking at the rest of the league real quick, who do you think had the best trade deadline acquisitions?
I heard a lot of the experts were asked this question, and because the deadline had been like different because so many teams are in it and it was a seller's market and there wasn't a ton of movement, you had more of, well, I can't, the Rays did really well in trading away their prospects. Or this team did very well trading away their prospects. The Padres, I think, have set themselves up. When you look at the Dodgers, and like they're vulnerable. I mean, they've had so many injuries, really all over their lineup. Freddie Freeman and what's going on with this kid. You don't know when he's going to play or if he's going to be back from that. So Dodgers are going to make the playoffs. They're going to win a lot of regular season games. But the Padres, they're sneaky. Right? Just when you thought that it was like, all right, they're probably done again this year. They've been playing sub 500 ball. And then they went on a little bit of a tear coming out of the All-Star break here. So they really solidified their bullpen. They were looking for a starting pitcher, but they got one of the better relievers. You can say the Phillies and the Padres certainly helped their bullpen. So I think the Padres did a really good job in kind of just saying like, hey, we're here. We've made our team better. Let's go. So I got the Padres. I was disappointed to see that the Pirates didn't do a little bit more. I know Pirates fans were bummed out there that they didn't do a whole heck of a lot more. Yankees obviously improved their team as well. The Orioles getting Zach Eflin, they needed starting pitchers. And
their whole bullpen is like former Phillies now.
No, I don't think that's a good idea to have Sir Anthony and Kimbrel and who's the other one that they Soto. Maniac.
Soto.
Guy. Yeah. Soto. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, and it's like maybe they just are high on a change of atmosphere, because it seems like they think that's going to help them out. I also like, just to go off of what you said, the Dodgers obviously getting Flaherty. Am I saying that right? Why does it sound weird?
Flaherty, yeah.
I don't know. It always sounds weird in my head.
It's not because it's not one of these names that you look at it that it rolls off your tongue. You know what I mean? It's not like a smooth flowing last name to say. You're always questioning whether or not you're saying it correctly.
Yeah, I definitely am. But obviously, that's a huge acquisition for them. One of the best starting pitchers that was on the market. And then I like Tommy Edman, shortstop from the Cardinals. He's been hurt this year, so he's not really probably going to make an impact, obviously, this year. And Mookie when he comes back, but he is a versatile infielder. Tommy Edman is a more like utility guy, and from what we've seen of him before, I like that move. Obviously, like I
Yeah.
said, not for this year. Kevin Kiermaier used to be like an all-star and really good. He was on the Blue Jays, or not the Blue Jays, the Rays when they were really good in the World Series team. But I think this is his last season before he retires, so he's kind of on his way out. And then did they get Michael Kopech or was he
Yes.
part of that? Okay, because I was confused with the three-way because I like that as well. Just a hard throwing reliever. Never hurts to have that.
Yeah, and I mean the one thing that you've seen and you heard about the Phillies in getting Estevez is the price that was given up for him, which was for a rental. So you don't have him under club control. He's a free agent after this season, but you gave up two, pretty highly acclaimed pitching prospects, in particular the one for a rental. And if you remember when they traded for David Robertson, same situation 2 years ago, the World Series year, they gave up a high end starter in Ben Brown, like a high ceiling starter, electric stuff, but he also could end up not being a major leaguer. Well, he had a complete game with the Cubs earlier this season. He's out. He's on the 60-day DL. He had a neck injury, but Ben Brown was looked at as like a guy that had real tools and real potential. But who knows if these prospects, they call them prospects for a reason, realize their potential. He's the Cubs are certainly happy to have him. But from Dombrowski's standpoint, Robertson was close to having them win a World Series. Right? So he's done the same thing here. He's saying, this is my window. Yeah, I just gave up two good pitching prospects, and maybe I paid a lot to do it, but you weren't getting them unless you were putting the highest offer that was out there, which was these two really nice pitching prospects. So it hurts 2 years from now when if Estevez is gone and the Phillies don't win a World Series and we're seeing one of these guys as a young major league stud, we're going to be like, man, this sucks. But it's the price you pay to try to win a World Series now, Sam. So they got to go out there and they got to win a World Series. Otherwise, we'll always be looking at it and being like, damn, wish we didn't make that trade.
100%. I agree with you that right now it's a logical move. I'm not mad about it at all, but it is one of those situations where, like you said, if you look back and it didn't work out, then you might be mad. But right now, I don't think it was bad at all, especially when you saw some of these packages that guys gave up.
Yep.
Talking about top pitchers, the Cy Young watch that we always talk about, you knew Zach Wheeler was going to be down this week after Monday's performance, obviously giving up 7 runs. He's still in the top ish. Yeah, he's tied for second. So he's at plus 200 on the Parx app. Chris Sale went up even higher. I believe this is the first minus we've seen. He's minus 108, which is huge. And right now it's kind of just surprising because it's August. And Paul Skeens is up there, which I'm not a Western PA team person, obviously. I'm not the biggest fan of them, but Paul Skeens I like. How could you not like that kind of talent? So that's interesting. We've mentioned before that we thought Wheeler was basically a lock. I think he's going to come back and start being lights out again. Everybody on the Phillies is kind of taking a slump right now that we're looking at. So I think if you believe that Zach Wheeler is going to end up being on top like we do, go get him now at plus 200. This is probably one of the deepest he's going to fall towards the end of the season, right after that performance on Monday.
Yeah, and if he comes out and gives up another 5 or 6 earned runs over 5 or 6 innings, then you're going to see that number really plummet. So if you believe Zach Wheeler is going to respond to this, then yeah, I think it's a pretty good value to do it. Starting pitching had really, how do you have the best record in baseball up until just this past week? If you're the Phillies, it's your starting pitching has been unbelievable. Your bullpen has been unbelievable. Strom and Hoffman, Kerkering, these guys had sub-2, sub-1 ERAs for most of this season. And then what happens? Well, it's tough to do over the course of 162. Same thing with the starters. It just feels like that everything is kind of going to bleep right now. at the same time. So like there's mild concern there that maybe Zach is a little bit tired, right? Like had a great first half. Rangers on the IL. Who knows what happens? That's not supposed to be a serious injury, but is he as effective as he was before? Is he going to be fully healed? So yeah, I mean, there's some reasons to kind of be like, like all right, what's going on here with this team? But they still are very talented, and I still expect them to come out of this stretch and win the NL East and have a good shot at winning the World Series.
Have we ever seen before somebody win the Cy Young Award and then also Rookie of the Year? Because you have to imagine that Skeens might be up there, right?
Fernando Valenzuela, I believe, in 1980, won the Cy Young and the Rookie of the Year. And I can Google that real fast, but yeah, you have to go back like 45
Oh yeah, Mark said
years.
you're right.
Yeah, Fernando came in, and he no one ever really believed he was as young as they said he was. He was probably like 30 when he was a rookie. But yeah, like Fernando, it was Fernando Mania. He came in 1981 as a rookie, 13-7 with a 2.4 ERA. Won the Cy Young, won the Rookie of the Year.
My husband says that every time. Every time he sees a player, he's just like, "Do you think that's real? How old does that look to you?" He was famous for doing that all the time. Maniacs chiming in. How concerning is it to have Zach Wheeler get lit up like a Christmas tree against the Orioles and the Yankees?
That's a great point, Maniac Malloy. Aaron, here's another takeaway from the series. Aaron Judge is superhuman. How can a guy 6'8", that damn big, just like chiseled out of stone, and he plays center field, and he's adequate. He's not the best center fielder, but he plays it and he hits bombs. And it looked like the Yankees looked like they were feeling good the first two games of this series, and it was tough to watch. It really was. Soto's playing well, but Aaron Judge, yeah, I mean, like it's fair. Zach Wheeler can go out there and beat the bad teams. You're going to be facing the bad teams in the playoffs. So,
true.
Got to get it together.
I have faith in Zach. I think everybody's just going through that tired patch right now. I think he'll snap out of it. But speaking of Aaron Judge, he's one of those guys that, like you mentioned, he's like 6'8", but you look at him, and when he's alone, he doesn't even look like he's abnormally tall because he's still proportionate, just solid muscle.
6'8" guys don't look like that.
No, like they at least like look a little lanky or something. No, he's just solid and looks like he's a solid 6'1" guy. And then you put somebody near him and you're like, oh, he's 6'8". Okay. Absolutely insane. I thought that. I saw Shane Gillis post a picture next to him and I was just like, holy crap. Just insane.
And then Giancarlo Stanton pitched it last night, and he comes up and like, he's a monster. But to your point, when you see him, you're like, wow, like he's jacked. He's a big dude. Aaron Judge is like that, but he's 6'8".
Yeah.
Like,
I think Stanton's 6'5" or 6'6".
Holy crap, man.
Yeah, so he's huge too, but it's just absolutely insane. So wrapping up baseball talk, we have had the Olympics going on. What's your favorite event, John, with the Olympics?
Well, I'm watching vicariously through the eyes of my kids as they're really seeing the Olympics for the first time at an age 8 and 7, and totally into it. Totally in my middle daughter is she does gymnastics and she's pretty good. So she's been very into the gymnastics. We watched yesterday as the I guess the team won gold. Simone Biles got another gold medal. The swimming. I tried watching the skateboarding with them. Very bored by the skateboarding, because you can watch if you go on to Peacock, and I'll just talk into my remote because I'm one of the few people that have regular cable still. But like if you just talking, you give cable too. Yeah. I talk into the remote and I say Olympics, and then it gives you everything that they have. So I'm watching women's judo, Japan against like I don't know Australia, and then so I'm not just watching the American events, but.
You mentioned the skateboarding. I believe it's Japan has a skateboarder, a female skateboarder, was born in 2012.
I saw it because my kids are like, she's only 12, and I'm like, no, there's no 12-year-old Olympian. And as hell there was. Yeah, sure, you are correct.
Insane. So looking at the medal count, I'm right there with you. Gymnastics, swimming.
Yeah.
I like volleyball because I played volleyball, so both indoor and beach.
Oh,
Love it.
Yeah, no, I actually watched live the U.S. men's volleyball team lose to Cuba, and I was down because the commentators were like, "Oh, very mysterious Cuban team. No one knows a whole heck of a lot about them. The United States are big favorites, and then they lost to Cuba." So yes, I've been watching the volleyball as well.
That has been one thing that's frustrated me about this Olympics. I don't know if it's just because, like, I have a lot going on, so I'm getting overwhelmed, but normally I feel like I used to, like, be able to pay attention and be like, "This is on this night. This is on this night." With these Olympics, I feel like it's just everything's at the same time. It's all just thrown in there, and I'm, like, just watching whatever and not actually able to pay attention to anything because it's just so much.
Well, this is the part of the great thing about being just having out of the parks with John Marks is I can watch TV during the day when other people are working. So I've been doing a lot of morning viewing of the Olympics, Sam. It's
So
been excellent.
live, like, real time, that's fun
Live.
too.
Yep. Yep. First thing
Looking at
we get up and we put on the Olympics and we're watching live events. It's awesome.
It is always on my RTV in the background as well. It's just the best thing ever, having any type of sport just
Oh,
on
yeah.
the background on the TV anyway, so it's nice to have it all day long. But looking at the medal count, so before I read these, are you a guy that does total medals, or do you only count it if it's a gold medal? Because I know Maniac has said it before where it's gold medal or bust.
The gold medal should get more points. You know
I
what I
agree.
mean? Like, the gold medal should get 3. It should be 3, 2, and 1 because you can have
Yep.
it cheapens saying, "Oh, the leader in medals." Yeah, but yeah. So I think that there should be an adjustment made as far as that.
So the last Olympics, I remember being mad because China, I believe, had like the most overall, but America had the most gold. And I was like, that's not fair. But looking at it now, China and Japan are tied with 8 gold medals each. America only has 5. But overall, the US is leading with 30 overall medals. And then the next closest, I believe, is France with 25. So overall, we're blowing everybody out of the water with a whole bunch of
Sure.
medals. But not so much gold. But to your point, if they did the point system, we would still be winning because we're blowing everybody out
That
overall.
much ahead. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and also basketball to me, that gold medal is more potent than a skateboarding gold medal, right? Like some of these new events that they put in the Olympics, it's a total joke. Like basketball would hurt if they don't win the gold medal. There's certain things that the United States they need to win gymnastics. They need to they need to win swimming. They need to win
Yeah.
basketball. So as long as they win the main ones they're supposed to, I'll probably be happy because they're gonna win. They're gonna win a lot of medals for sure.
I agree with you on that. I feel like some of these sports, they even just throw them in there just to kind of stunt America a little bit because they know we're such a powerhouse in sports like badminton. We're not going to win that one. You know what I mean? Who plays badminton if it's not a
Table
barbecue?
tennis.
Yeah, like stuff like that. I'm like, you just know we don't play that. So that's where
Yeah,
those games come in. But yeah, I'm right there. Okay, so don't forget to like and subscribe. And
like and
John,
subscribe, like and subscribe, like and subscribe. Especially
I
on our
love it.
Instagram too, on BetPark's Instagram, because that's where
Yeah.
we put out clips and we get really good feedback and interaction with it. And by the way, isn't it the BetPark's Olympics is going on right now as well?
I was just
Being
going
with
to
the
say that's
Olympic
where we're
talk.
putting out all our own Olympic content.
Yep, we're gold
So you see
medalists
that there.
in the
Yeah, we are.
BetPark's Olympics.
John and I.
I feel like that we didn't get a lot of shine for our gold medal in our event, but
We didn't.
it is what it is.
It was very overlooked. I will say I was disappointed about that because we won the water balloon toss
We did.
and friends of ours, aka Mark Feldman, was part of the egg toss winning team.
Yeah.
And I feel like that one, they went crazy. They got to stand on the mound like they were number 1 overall. And everybody just forgot that
We're in
we
the
won the
back.
water balloon toss.
We were in the back. It's like, yeah, they treated us like badminton, and
Yeah,
Feldman
they did.
and Dunphy were basketball. That's disappointing.
That's actually the perfect analogy for it because that's what it was. So mad about it.
Oh well. 4 years from now we can make up for it.
Yeah, you're right. 4 years from now, we're coming back with vengeance, baby. It's time to go out of the parks with John Marks. So this weekend they are at Seattle. Who you taking to go out of the park?
Oh well, I mean, geez. First of all, not a big home run hitting park out there, so it's a pitcher's park. However, if we're gonna believe in Bryce Harper and I believe in Bryce Harper, then we have to believe that the day off, the travel out west, and you brought up the baby thing before. It's probably going to do him some good to get away from the kids, get away from the screaming baby, get to the hotel room, play whatever video game you play, put your headphones on, put your glasses on, whatever you do. All right, I'm not a video game guy. Bryce Harper is going to go on a tear this weekend, and you're probably getting it at a good price because he's been slumping. So I would say Bryce Harper.
Very true. I like that one, and especially because the team overall needs it just to have something coming and now, something rise above.
Does Maniac Malloy have because Maniac Malloy always he does the away team. He picks a player for the away team that's a home run, and normally he's right. And yeah. Who was it that hit the home run in the Cleveland series? And he was bragging about it. I told you.
It was the funny name. I don't remember, but
Donkey. I was like, what's his name?
Mark's looking it up.
Whatever it is, Maniac Malloy was very proud of himself, and it's like, dude, they just took the lead with that home run. You a-hole. Like don't be celebrating you picking the other team's player to hit a home run. I know that you cashed in on it, fine. All right, but I didn't appreciate it, and I blame you, Malloy.
Yeah, 100%. He just likes to rile people up, I think, with those. He does.
Yep.
But you did mention, what was I going to say? Oh, that was part of what was in my head with the Bryce Harper situation is if he goes on the road, that can only help him,
For sure.
The kid situation.
Yeah. So that's our best strategy right now for getting him out of it. So.
Yes, I did. Oh, that's what I wanted to bring up also, because I was driving in today when I was listening to WIP pregame show, and they had a caller on there, and the lady, don't get me wrong, she was sweet, but she was very much just talking about how this team looks deflated right now. And she came up, and I hate this argument, John, how people were like, well, that's their job. They should build themselves up. We have to go into the office every day and blah, blah, blah. And I just want to tell that lady, I don't remember her name, but people forget that, yes, you might have to build yourself to go into office every single day, but it's also not you exerting your top energy 24/7, and you get the weekends. The baseball players barely even get a day off. So I feel like that's just one of my things that really ticks me off, because people just don't understand everything that goes into it. Yes, they make millions. I understand that, but it's not as easy as people make it seem. And it makes me mad.
They're people too. Athletes are people too. Let me give you a comp. I did sports radio in this town for a long time, and I can assure you that if I did 48 weeks a year, 5 days a week of radio, that I'm going to have periods where I'm not all that good. And I know it, right? Like maybe stuff's going on at home. Maybe I'm tired. Maybe I'm not feeling well. Maybe like you're just not mentally feeling it. And then you get in your own head, right? It's like that at any job, whether you're working in an office or whatever. Like people have bad stretches. And unfortunately, it feels like with the Phillies, a lot of these guys are having not so great stretches right now. So yeah, if it was as easy as snapping your fingers because they're millionaires, then everybody would do it. But you get sluggish over the course of you say 162 games, which is a lot. Spring training, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. They're playing in October. That's a long season. So the Phillies have been really, really good this year. I'm grateful because I love this team, right? Like, let's put our seatbelts on. Let's try to ride this out. If we believed in the team before, a tough stretch right now shouldn't make us jump. Now, get it out of your system today. You should. You should be absolutely miserable today because they just got swept at home by the Yankees. Totally agree. But let's get it out of our system. Let's take tomorrow to regroup. And then on Friday, when we start the series in Seattle, let's get back on the saddle and let's try to be a little bit more positive.
I love it. And I agree with everything you said. And one thing, just back to that caller real quick, it also would be different if they made that argument to like football, because it's getting yourself up one time a week to really exert all that energy. Baseball is just a lot longer and every single day. So,
yep. Yeah. See, with Bryce right now, this is a total mental thing. He's in his own head, and it's not as easy as just snapping your fingers to get it out.
100%, especially with how mental baseball actually is, and people don't realize that. Also, Maniac chimed in right here. It was John Kenzie Noel. That's why I remember it was a fun name.
Yeah,
but
he hit a monster too. He had a monster shot.
Yeah, I just have a theory that he just chooses a cool name. But before we head out, Marks and Maniacs money line today. LA Dodgers and Colorado Rockies both to win. It was at plus 373. Now it's at plus 500. So go get it now.
Yep, we boosted it. I guess my strategy with picking the Rockies, that Maniac Malloy picked the Dodgers on his end, I picked the Rockies, was that Rockies are playing the Anaheim Angels or the Los Angeles Angels, and they just pretty much traded everybody that they could off their roster. So it becomes one of these things where now they have a bunch of AAA arms in there in the bullpen. They traded away a number of their bullpen people. So I like the Rockies tonight. You're getting a pretty good number at it, and we're boosted to 500. So take care of it. Get to the Parx app. You'll see it right there on the home screen. You can take advantage of it.
Yeah, hopefully, I don't blame people if they don't want to watch more baseball after the massacre they've witnessed these last couple of days. But like Jon said earlier, take today, be angry, and then tomorrow relax and get right back on track on Friday. Because the Phillies, they just need to get away, and then they're going to be back before we know it. Thanks for tuning in to episode number 18 of Out of the Parks with Jon Marks. I'm Sam Stafford. That's Jon Marks, and we'll have Maniac Malloy with us again next week.
See you.
Still on.